This is the Microsoft Cloud Show, Episode 6, where we will interview some of the speakers from the SharePoint Intersections Conference the week of October 28, 2013 in Las Vegas. Welcome to the Microsoft Cloud Show, the only place to stay up to date on everything going on in the Microsoft Cloud world, including Windows Azure, Office 365, Exchange, Lync, and other related technologies. Just the information, no marketing, no BS. I'm Andrew Connell.
And I'm Chris Johnson.
And we're just two dudes telling you how we see it. All right, here we go. How you doing, CJ?
Very well, very well. We're here at SharePoint Intersections Conference in Las Vegas and having a great time.
Absolutely. And we are sitting in a absolute slummy... We're in a very slummy location, though, don't you think?
Well, the view's terrible. The company's absolutely...
I resemble that remark.
So if you can't tell, we are actually doing this from our room, from a room. Not that we have a room.
Your
but
rooms.
We have rooms.
Yes.
And we're doing a show with a bunch of the other speakers here from the SharePoint Intersections Conference. So we have, with us, we have Mike Fitzmaurice. We have Mark Rackley.
Hi.
Come on, Mark, you can speak up. We have Paul Shafline.
Hello.
We have Rob Windsor.
Hello.
And we have Jason Himmelstein.
Hello.
So we have a bunch of us just standing around here, and we just thought we'd shoot the breeze a little bit and record it and see how it goes. We have other people in the other room that you could probably hear in the background that are carrying on, but they've been drinking a bit too much.
Having no fun whatsoever.
They're making it sound like it's a much more entertaining party than it actually is.
Exactly. Well, the night is early.
Yes.
We have not had a...
Oh, no, it's great. It's great with background sounds.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Ambiance.
Absolutely. So in this show, we just want to keep it real light. Want to just have a very relaxed conversation to see what everybody's up to these days and introduce yourselves and just kind of see where it takes us. So how about you kick us off here, Mike?
All right. Well, let's see. Here talking about one of the subjects near and dear to my heart, the wonderful world of SharePoint workflow. But as to what I'm up to, can I tell you, Nintex just released not one but two products for Office 365, so workflow forms are up there. And
huge news for the SharePoint Cloud world, I'd say.
Actually, the form stuff has been up for less than 48 hours, and it's now the number one most popular download.
Ah, in the App Store?
Yeah.
Or what are they called? The marketplace?
SharePoint Store.
SharePoint Store.
I believe
the public
correct.
SharePoint Store. That's really impressive.
Yeah, nice work.
Very nice.
So you've got a robot doing the downloads? Or?
No. Cheap labor in an outsourcing country.
You're using the Mechanical Turk.
Yes.
Cheap labor.
He loves us some Mechanical Turk.
Absolutely.
No, from what we can tell, it's all from different places. So it's either Mechanical Turks with lots and lots of proxies, or people are really trying it out.
That's fantastic. Well, I don't doubt it. I mean, I've tried the Nintex Forms solution and as well as the workflow solution.
I'm not looking for a plug here. I'm just saying you asked me what I was working on. That's what I was working on.
That's great news.
A lot of people are doing great things here, and in fact, Mark. You are doing something great, right?
I'm holding this wall up as we speak.
That's pretty great. I don't want it to fall on me.
But to be fair, Mark, you have like an open source based kind of form solution that you've done.
Actually,
it's all JavaScript based.
Right, I've got a library on Codeplex. It's actually at forms7.codeplex.com. And it allows you to create HTML forms, and it stores all of your fields as a JSON object in one SharePoint list field.
Nice.
And so, you can go and create your forms out of HTML and JavaScript and do whatever you want to do.
Does it work in the cloud?
It works in the cloud. It works in 2010, 2013, and actually in 2007 as well. So
2007. What about 2010?
In 2010 as well.
Oh, that's good.
Or do your innovations skip a generation?
Oh, did I miss 2010?
I heard 2013 and 2007. It doesn't matter. Those are all details, right?
You had a traumatic experience with 2010 and try to block it out of your mind, don't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you're saying that, so it's all like JSON based, it's all JavaScript based and everything. So what's involved? Like if I want to create a form, what do I have to go about doing to actually create the form using your library?
Well, I've got an install script on my library that will kind of do the setup for you, but essentially you have to add a special field to your SharePoint list, which is just a multi-line plain text field.
Okay.
You have to call it Form 7 data because I expect that field to be there.
Okay.
And then you write a script where you include the Form 7 library, and there is a couple of initialization functions you have to execute that basically say which div in the following HTML is my form. And you also pass in the list name that is going to be read from.
So it just take, and then what does it do? Does it then just look at the list for like kind of refactor it or reflect it, and look at the list and build up the entire form for you? Or?
So the way it works is your HTML form, each element, each input, text box, select box, you can even do divs if you want to have dynamic labels based upon data, have a unique ID. Each element has to have a unique ID. And when you save the form, jQuery goes through and finds all the inputs and all the fields on the page, and it creates a JSON object where the property name is the element's ID, and the value is whatever the value of the thing, the input text box or whatever it is, and it stores that in that one list. So when you load a form, it reads the query string from the ID from the query string, and then it goes through and it just goes through a quick loop and says, find this element by the ID because I've got it from the JSON object, and sets value to whatever is the property value.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah.
It seems very easy. What kind of traction are you getting on it so far?
It's got quite a few downloads.
So a classic open source kind of solution where it's all word of mouth. It's
word of mouth, and I'm trying to get more motivated to do more documentation on it because there's a lot of built-in functions. So like if you want to read the list name, do cascading drop-down lists, make required fields, you can do custom field validation. But it's not documented because I'm too lazy and I haven't seen enough traffic. So.
Have you appified it?
Oh, thank goodness.
No, because I'm not sure how I would appify it given with the app model the way it works.
Okay.
I'm not sure how that would work. But
Gotcha.
That's a very cool solution.
Yeah.
Very cool solution. So how do you get, where can people find more information about it?
form7.codeplex.com.
FORMS7.
The number 7.codeplex.com. Yeah.
Fantastic. We'll put a link to that in the show notes as well. That's really cool.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Mr. Schafline.
Oh, yes.
What have you been up to other than
Jeez, I let the beard go gray, and now I get all this respect. I should have done it a decade ago.
He's being formal, not respectful.
So what have you been up to? What have you been up to, Paul?
Recently, I am teaching for critical path training, taking over for someone who's cut back on his teaching activities.
I have no idea what you mean by that. I've been busy recording a podcast.
There you go. And still independent consultant helping people do SharePoint stuff, mostly on premises still. So don't ask me any app questions.
So how about here at the show? What are you up to? What are you up to at Intersections?
I have a couple of sessions around identity for SharePoint in Azure in the cloud.
Excellent. How about you, Mark? What are you talking on?
Client-side dev, strangely
Oh
enough.
yeah, JavaScript.
Actually, I have an 8-hour workshop on Thursday to kind of go through end to end how to do client-side dev in SharePoint.
I'm hoping to learn enough in that postcon to not end up running around, as I like to say, stabbing myself in the face with pencils when I try coding JavaScript. So
You set the bar for me.
if you can teach me, you can teach anybody.
Excellent.
Excellent.
I accept the challenge.
And so Rob, what have you been up to?
So for the last 6 months, I've been focusing mostly on recording training content for Pluralsight.
Nice.
We love Pluralsight.
Rob Windsor.
I didn't get as many courses done as I'd hoped to because I'm just too verbose. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's other people in the room here are the same way. But
I have no idea what you're talking about either.
but last week I started doing consulting again. So I took basically 6 months off consulting work, and it's going to be all client-side stuff. It was the same client I was working for before I took the lead from Portal Solutions. So I'm back, and it's all SharePoint-based stuff, but it is all client-side stuff. So get my rest on. Get a little rest and jQuery, but I'm going to be using Visual Studio. I know Mark's not a big Visual Studio fan.
I did learn all the rest that I do now. I'm using Rest like crazy, and I learned it all from Rob's Pluralsight video.
Thank you.
There you go.
Yeah,
Apparently you can talk for 6 hours, was it? 6 hours?
I did 6.5 hours on REST API. Well, client object model and REST API.
That's like the marathon of JavaScript and REST.
Well, the thing is, and I found, especially with the REST API, is like the documentation for Microsoft is like non-existent. So it was really just trying to figure out how to do a lot of stuff. The client object model stuff was mostly fine in terms of docs and figuring things out here and there. But the REST API stuff was really, really like pulling teeth to try to figure it out. So it's been really good for my course because people want to learn that stuff, and because of the lack of docs, that's one place they can turn to.
Very cool, very cool. Yeah. So that's all.
And I did want to say, I'm amazed you got all these people in a Motel 6 room. Like, and the view of the airport is fantastic.
We have a great view of the Hooters hotel.
Well, you need. This is Vegas. This is not a Hooters. Hooters.
It's the Hooters.
This is the Hooters Hotel and Casino.
Hey, wait, they have $3 blackjack.
And prime rib for $9.95. This is a classy joint. It's not normal.
Okay, stop the recording. We're going.
Wait, time out. Have you been there?
No.
It's not a classic joke.
They serve wings 24/7 though. So
Well,
He spent 3 days there. He knows.
you can't
So-
beat that with a stick.
Speaking of Microsoft, we have Eric Harlan here. So, Eric, what have you been up to these days?
Not a whole lot, man. Just carrying a flag, doing the PFE thing, fixing all you guys' mistakes.
So, PFE, what is that?
Premier Field Engineering. So it's,
The ambulance at the bottom of the cliff.
yeah. I'll take it. Yeah, so...
Not the first responders. You're the person who actually fixes people, right?
right, yeah. We'd like to think that.
Like an Undertaker.
The resuscitation. I have a lot
Body
of.
back to life.
I think we just
spent
lost
a
an
bit of
entire
time.
segment of our audience with the PFE.
I spent a little bit of time.
Level 1 support now hates us.
I spent a little time at Microsoft and in the field, and have great respect for PFEs because they're the sort of the last line of what's the right word? Last line of defense. Exactly before people start having to write code to fix the problem. So
Yeah, so just doing my thing there. Focusing a lot on upgrade from 2010 to 2013. Doing a lot in the Azure space as well with the infrastructure side. So standing up SharePoint boxes and how that can all work in the cloud, but in a cloud that you sort of control and pay for, but at the same time, but you control. So, that's sort of where I've been splitting my time, and some good things coming down the pipe in the next couple months, possibly, for me, and that's pretty much what I've been doing.
excellent.
cool.
And so, what are you talking on at the show?
So I'm doing how to actually set up a SharePoint 2013 trial version of in Azure for free, so anyone can go out and play around and get used to it and see how they like it. Not a sales pitch, but just hey, a lot of folks just don't have the bandwidth to stand up a dev box for a dev environment for 2013. So here's a good way to do it for free. And I'm also doing a post-con. I'm sure I'll take most of Mark's attendees away from him since we go at the same time, but on upgrade as well. So we'll be walking through everything from...
Ooh, upgrade with JavaScript. Yeah, that's a close call.
Yeah, they're pretty much equally as painful.
I think the audience will self-select pretty quickly.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. Pretty cool.
Very cool. Mr. Jason Himmelstein sitting over here in the
sir.
corner. Making sure that window's not falling out, right?
Yes, and drinking your beer. That was the other goal. So
what have you been up to, my friend?
I took a new job about 4 months ago. It's the practice director for SharePoint in a consulting firm up in New England, and finished our book. Got it out there.
What book? What did we finish the book? We gotta give a little bit of a plug here. Which book did you finish?
Developing SharePoint, developing business intelligence applications for SharePoint.
BI Solutions for SharePoint. Very cool.
Yeah, we changed the name a bunch of times, so it's still have to keep plugging it in with what the real title on the book is.
That's the life of being a book author, I think, is you just stuff gets moved around. Editor says, no, this term isn't trending right now. We need to go through and switch it around a little bit, right?
Yes.
On
A couple
fly
authors have
SEO.
done this in their room.
So we finished writing the book, and then Microsoft started releasing more and more in the BI space. So my spare fun time is spent between coding PowerShell and working on BI, Power BI, and all the new Power Query, Power Map, all that fun stuff. So
Those things look pretty cool and pretty powerful.
it's a lot of fun. A lot of stuff for the end user, being able to get in there and start to analyze the data and understand it a little bit more. So
I saw a session at WPC by, oh gosh, I can't remember his name now, but I've never seen somebody talk about BI and be so enthusiastic in a keynote. And literally the crowd went wild. It was all over.
It was a YouTube video that's going around too. That's hilarious at the very end.
Yeah, it was amazing. I've never seen anybody go nuts over BI quite as much as this guy, but he literally orbited the planet while he was talking about it, and he stole the show.
We totally need to find that link and include that in the show.
I'll send you the link.
Yeah, send us the links. We'll make sure that gets in the show notes. That was hilarious. You have to watch, and when you read this in the show notes, you have to watch the whole video because the end is where it gets really, really comical, really entertaining.
Is it long?
No, it's not that long. Was it 5 or 10 minutes?
Yeah, it's about 7
But
minutes.
your
so
point
you
is,
only need the
it's
last
long
3.
and interesting the whole way through.
Oh, yes. It's fascinating the whole way through.
At no point.
Mike's
does
time is
Ja-
obviously very valuable. He can't. 10 minutes.
No, it's not that. I'm just saying, at no point does Jason not entertain and inform.
Oh, no,
not
no.
Jason.
It's not Jason doing
Yeah,
that thing.
who's doing it?
Somebody
Oh,
from
no,
the
no,
SharePoint
no, it's not
VIT.
Jason.
All right.
It was in the WPC keynote.
A friend of mine tweeted, I know that, ladies, I know that anyone else who needs a shower after.
Aha.
Wow, very cool.
Yes, very cool, Jason. So we have a few other people that have joined us since we started up with the recording here. So another one saying just right here to my side is Asif Rehmani. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing all right. Thank you very much for having me, Andrew.
Absolutely. So what have you been up to these days?
Well, you, Andrew, got me started on critical path training, so I'm still there, actually. That was about 4 years ago. Can you believe it?
So it was
amazing.
4 years ago.
So,
Yeah.
Now I'm holding up the ship, since you've left already. So I've been
Still there. I'm just not.
So I've been focused on and really passionate about no-code solutions for a really long time, as you know. So that's what I'm speaking about right now at the conference. I did a pre-con session for that, and that's what I do in my class as well for many, many years. So I continue to hold that flag up and tell people, hey, before you go code, look at the no-code stuff first. There's a lot of good stuff out there. Even though Design View is not there anymore, InfoPath might not be there. Anyway, that's
I was going to say there's two things you said to that. You say like about the stuff that all the stuff you can do without like no code and everything. I remember I taught the class back in the day when you wrote the class for SharePoint Designer 2010 for critical path training, and I went and taught it overseas, and I've learned a ton of stuff that I didn't know you could do, and it was kind of like that was the big eye opener for me. That was the number one thing developers do wrong is they go build something. Right before they know exactly what you have to do. So I learned
wrong.
well, higher maintenance.
Build something they built something that already
security for you,
exists.
Paul.
We call that a revenue generator.
So you're not just doing the critical path thing. You also have your own business, SharePoint Videos, right?
Absolutely. SharePointVideos.com. And
SharePoint-videos.
SharePoint-videos.com, you're right. Even though go to SharePointVideos.com, you'll eventually get there anyway.
Oh, either way works, okay.
But so over there, we're once again really passionate about helping the end user all the way to the power user. And there is it's basically a help tab that comes up directly in the ribbon, and it kind of follows the user around, doesn't matter where they are, and it helps them providing tutorials or reference documents or screenshots or whatever they need at the time in context. So, one of the big things that I've been hearing since the beginning, 2002, when I first entered the SharePoint community was, we built it, but nobody came. Mm-hmm. It's there, it's beautiful, but people are not using it. So that's been my goal since the beginning, and we're getting the opportunity finally. The last couple of years is when we introduced this thing, and it's been taking off pretty nicely in the community. Everybody loves it. There's been a need for it. The help icon that's on the top right of SharePoint has not been too helpful, unfortunately. So the help tab, we're hoping, is the one that really takes people to the next level.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. That's very good to hear.
Can I ask I'm just sure that if the SharePoint Designer and InfoPath changes. I remember when I was doing classroom training, when the transition into .NET, and a lot of people came into the class with less than enthusiastic, outlooks on the training. Right. So do you find that because of those changes, people are discouraged when they come in, or?
Yeah. So I want to be candid over here. When I first heard about the changes, like Design View and also the uncertainty of the InfoPath's future, the things that I heard from Microsoft was, they were not being used as to the fullest extent anyway. There were just not enough use cases for us to support that going forward, especially Design View and all that stuff. And I found a completely different view for many, many years that I've been teaching those things. So I feel that there's a huge segment of people which might get severely discouraged. I hope not, but it's possible. It seems like some of them are already. And I'm really hoping that audience doesn't go away. So the story that I've been telling has kind of shifted personally, is saying, data view, yes, you cannot manipulate using Design View anymore. But there's the search results web part, the search content web part. There's a lot of other things which kind of fill the gap. And then there's some vendors also like Lightning Tools that have their data viewer web part, I think. And there's some things like that which will fill up the gap. So don't leave just yet. I'm telling the power users, there's still light at the end of the tunnel.
There still is light at the end. Okay.
It's just that those free products were there, InfoPath, not InfoPath, but SharePoint Designer specifically, that did, as Andrew said, is a lot of
SharePoint Designer is free now?
There's a story about that too, by the way. You know,
We need a little sound for like the breaking news.
SharePoint design. Microsoft decided to make that free on April 1st, 2009.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
then-
I remember that.
Yeah, and then they changed the date to April 2nd, 2009 because people were not believing, like, no way. It's an April Fool's joke.
They reissued the press release. I remember
Yeah,
that.
that was so funny. But, so it's been a great product, I thought. But I did a book on 2007, 2010. Not doing one on 2013 anymore. I don't know if this is safe to say this in podcast, but one of my colleagues, it's kind of safe, I think. It's like I was talking to him about that. I don't want to mention the name. One of the MVPs actually. He's like, "Yeah, SharePoint Designer has kind of been neutered, hasn't it?" So that's the word that he used basically of what has happened to SharePoint Designer in 2013. So, but we'll see how things go.
Oh, they took the design out of SharePoint Designer, so now
Yeah,
SharePoint
SharePoint Exactly.
Very cool.
SharePoint Destroyer.
Very cool. Thanks, Asif. So we also have with us Agnes Molnar, straight from Europe. So how have you been?
I'm good, thank you. It took me about 18 hours flight to get here, but I'm very happy I made it.
Now, we're very happy that you're here. So what are you speaking about this week? Let me guess.
Search and search.
Search, a little bit of search. This is Mrs. Search here for SharePoint. So what have you been up to these days?
Well, I started my independent business back in February, and I have good news. It's going very well now. So
Very good.
I'm doing a lot of conferences this month, so I'm kind of off, but I'm getting back to my customers after that. I do a lot of trainings, workshops on search and content management in SharePoint. I have a lot of very, very challenging and interesting projects, and I really enjoy that.
Very cool. That's what makes it fun too. If it's the same thing over and over, that's not the fun part. It's not that doesn't get
Exactly.
interesting. So that's cool. Very cool. Well, good to have you here,
Thank you. My pleasure.
Mr. Holm. We also have with us Dan Holm. How are
Some
you, Dan?
say he has never seen the inside of his own house. And that he is the point.
So Dan and I are actually the co-chairs for SharePoint, for the SharePoint side of SharePoint Intersections. I guess that is the SharePoint side. The SharePoint side of Intersections event. So how have you been?
I've been good. It's been great working with you, Andrew.
Absolutely.
And on behalf of all of us, thank you all for coming once again. It's been really great. And great to see a new event get born and the surprises that have come along with it. And it's been excellent. So other than that, I've actually been spending a lot of time in my personal life the last few months and in events. And then the main projects I've been working on are, first of all, a small event called the SharePoint Conference coming up in March. And secondly, another small event happening in February called the Olympics. So I'm back.
So you have to go on and explain this because this is a fascinating thing that you end up working with too. You're working with NBC.
Yeah,
NBC
so I'm
Sports doing. Go ahead and explain.
Yeah, so technically I'm the Microsoft Technologies Consultant for NBC Sports, which means I own, during the broadcast of the Olympic Games, a couple of the Microsoft technologies, identity, management, and SharePoint. And so we're in the process of setting up all the technologies we're going to use to support the broadcast of the games back to the U.S. audience from February 5th to February 23rd, 2014 from Sochi, Russia.
So you're only going to be at the Olympics just that time, right?
I will be
just
in
for
Sochi.
2 weeks, right?
No, for 5 weeks actually. Yeah, so I get
There's some setup work involved?
Yeah, there's air quotes there for people who are on the podcast. I get to be in Sochi from January 21st until February 24th.
Wow.
And
very cool.
Yeah, setting up all kinds of good technologies. This is the first games in which SharePoint 2013 has been real. We couldn't use it in London because it wasn't released yet. And we're also, for us, it's the first games we're using Office 365, which is nice.
Cloud.
Yep, we're doing some stuff in the cloud.
Everybody agree?
Yep.
Oh, sorry, I started early.
And I'm also working with them on establishing some of these technologies in the new complex for NBC Sports. They've consolidated all of their networks into a single compound, like ESPN has done. And so what used to be NBC Olympics IT now supports all of sports. And that's enabling us to do some really great forward-thinking technological approaches towards business productivity, including bringing in tools from some of our esteemed peers like Mr. Mike Fitzmaurice, who's next to me from Nintex. So it's an exciting project.
Yeah, I tell you, I remember when you were doing the Olympics, I believe it was in London or it might have been in Vancouver before that, seeing the pictures that you were posting on your wall from like the broadcast center and from all the servers in there, and having to hear like how much stuff has to stay in sync back with New York City, and it's amazing the amount of with the technology behind this that you end up having to support and stand up and everything.
Yeah, so. it's a crazy infrastructure, and I'll come back and talk about it.
Absolutely.
In a future podcast.
Oh, I think that'd be fascinating to actually get there and dig into that.
Be happy.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, thank you very much, Dan.
Thank you.
Mr. Chris McNulty.
How are you?
Doing good. How are you doing?
Happy to be my first Intersections. Oddly enough.
First Intersections and first time on the podcast. I guess that's true for everybody.
That's
except
true.
for CJ and I. All you rookies.
Bringing friends this time. Yeah.
So what are you speaking about this week, sir?
This week I'm covering performance point and mostly analysis services. So this is what I refer to as the Jeff Borowski Memorial Session. Not that he's dead, but he said to me once, like,
wait, where's the breaking news segment again?
dun, dun, dun. But it was,
Oh, dear God.
we were discussing how do you create a cube for analysis services.
Commemorative. The word you wanted was commemorative.
Commemorative.
We birthed the conference and killed the speaker.
He'll find out about it later. We'll go live with this in about 3 weeks. He'll be good.
Mostly, how do you use analysis services, set up your first cube, and lay out performance point with analysis services. Another session on managed metadata, what's new in 2013, and how to build out managed navigation term sets. And no, it doesn't cross-site collections yet.
No, doesn't. I mean, it kind of does, but it's not used for navigation across site collections. Like
Correct.
Everyone tries to do that. Everyone wants to do that in 365, but not going to happen right now.
365 just really isn't optimized beyond the site collection level now, is it?
No, it's still just at the site collection level. It's back to SharePoint 2003, it seems sometimes, but
I wouldn't go that far. I'd say 2010.
2010, okay.
Right.
Well, cool.
All right, 07.
Well, very cool. We really appreciate all of you guys taking some time to talk to us and to share what you were doing. And the podcast is traditionally not a interview style kind of a show.
Traditionally, as in the previous 3 sessions.
4 or 5.
Yeah, we got 4 out there now. So refresh your phone. But it was really cool to have everybody around and be able to talk about what you're working on these days. And so we'll have in the show notes. We'll have everybody's blog and Twitter accounts and everything on there, so you can follow. The listeners can follow along. And just from my point of view, thank you very much for taking some time to talk about this.
Yeah, it's been a great show. It's amazing to have so many great SharePoint, I won't say celebrities, I'll say talent.
And too bad none of them could be here tonight.
That's right.
Wow.
So we got the ring-ins instead.
Included myself.
And wonderful show. Great to see so many familiar friends and faces talking about SharePoint and interesting topics.
Yep, absolutely. So make sure you send those questions in. We're still looking for questions we can play on the air. So with that, thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
If you have a question for us, go to microsoftcloudshow.com/questions, where you can submit it as text or record it as a WAV or an MP3 and provide a link so that we can play your question on the show. Our theme music is an excerpt from Evaporated Eric by Monk Turner, used under a Creative Commons license. You can subscribe to us in iTunes by searching for Microsoft Cloud Show or via RSS at microsoftcloudshow.com, where you will also find a full transcript and show notes of each episode. You can also find us on Facebook, searching for Microsoft Cloud Show, or on Twitter at MS Cloud Show. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.